Welcome to Always Coachable, conversations with athletes, leaders, coaches, and high performers about growth, mindset, resilience, and the lessons that shape us over time. I'm Sandy Cohen, and today's guest, been looking forward to this one, is Anthony Mora. Anthony is one of the co-founders and CEO of Blade Tech Hockey, an entrepreneur, someone who's built a career around motivation, performance, and challenging conventional thinking. And Anthony, here is why I wanted you on the show. I was trying to think, I think maybe it was 2017, maybe 18, where I reached out. You didn't know me from anything. You were so kind to send us some steel. And what stood out to me then wasn't just the cool elements of the product, but how eager and excited you were to share the development and to share in kind of the concept and let us try it. Since then, I've enjoyed watching you guys grow. I mean, it's leaps and bounds. And you're not someone who's just created a product. You guys have built an amazing company, earning trust, overcoming skepticism, I'm sure, and staying committed to the vision. So, Anthony, officially, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you for having me. Quite an intro. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's been some time since we first connected.
Yep.
2017
Yeah.
seems like a long, long time ago. I mean, almost 10 years, right? And we were in a very different place. I personally and professionally was a very different place than I am now. So yeah, it's going to be fun to kind of talk about that
Yeah.
journey from then to
When
now and the
when you
future, of
he-
course.
when you hear the intro or things like that said about you, do you think I nailed it? Do you ever think of yourself in those terms?
Yeah.
I love it.
I know I've been, I've focused on a few things over my career specifically. One of them actually was, and very much relatable to this show, was coaching and motivation specifically, um, in a corporate setting, in a sports setting, and now in a corporate sports setting as I run a hockey company, hockey equipment company. So that's always top of mind for me, as I move through life. So yeah, so hearing about that, I was like, yeah, I've done some things, I've learned some things,
It's
but I'm
been a journey,
also
right? It's been a journey.
consistently learning, and that's the cool part is like you're never done. There's always new challenges. As our business has grown, we've hit some amazing thresholds, and now we're like, okay, how do we get to this one, which is 10 times where we thought we were going. So
Take me back,
but it
right?
makes it
Right
keeps it exciting.
before Blade Tech, right? It's as much as you want to share, but what was life like before Blade Tech, if you
It
can
was more
remember?
boring. No,
More boring.
I had corporate jobs at major banks in Canada, at University of Toronto, which I was there for almost 10 years, with a couple of odd contracts here and there. So and then I spent my own time coaching soccer. That was actually my coaching experience. So, and a little bit of hockey. I did coach a little bit of hockey at the university as well. So I was spending, regular business hours doing corporate projects and then having fun after that, basically, and on the weekends. So my life was like that for a while, but I was in a very small bubble. I was working at the University of Toronto. I was coaching at the University of Toronto. I was basically spending my whole life there in one place. So, when I decided in 2014, 2015 to go do my MBA in San Francisco, I lived in China for a summer. I lived in New York City for a summer. I really expanded. So that kind of kickstarted. And I met my partner, my business partner, Jeff, just before that. And during my MBA, I kind of revamped our website. I launched an online store for the first time. So that was really the beginnings of Blade Tech and the beginning of this entrepreneur life. So doing the MBA really gave me the confidence and tools to do that, giving us a better chance of being more successful at what we were doing. And yeah, and then it's history from there.
Do you remember any of those early conversations sitting around with Jeff when whoever came up, wherever the science and all that uh, uh, came from? But do you remember kind of sitting there with him and saying, man, like this is, we have something here, or did you not know?
I got a sense of it when I met him. I actually didn't even talk to him when I met him. He was doing a spiel and I listened and I took his business card from the table and I left. And I emailed him the next day. So we actually corresponded by email for about 8 months before we met. I came back from school for Christmas and we went and had lunch. It was the first time we met. So I met him in March and we didn't meet in person till December. So that was interesting corresponding with him back and forth and just kind of we were just aligned on a lot of things we saw this could be. And just the mix of our backgrounds was really complementary. So he was completely, you know, mechanical engineering focused,
Yeah.
brilliant with the design and everything like that. And I was like, okay, here's how we can build the brand and deliver the message. You've built something amazing. Here's how we're going to deliver that message and add value to everyone's life in hockey through that. So, and
It's like the
how to
perfect
say
storm.
no to
It's like the
people. And
perfect complement, right?
yeah, and there's, there's history of, the best partnerships are kind of like engineering and business
Yeah.
partnerships, and whether it's two or three people or something like that. When you get two business people or you get two engineers together, it kind of something's missing in a way. So I was always looking to work in sports because I had such a big sports background and I loved coaching and things like that. So it just kind of was great timing, great mix of, we were both younger as well, much younger than I am now. But because he had older people like that were going after, like, yeah, I can help you, kid, build this, and he's like, I don't want to partner with someone who's going to be like my dad and tell me what to do. So it was really a good fit for everybody, and I mean, we've been working together for 12 years, so it's been good.
Did you, looking back, did you guys have any idea that this would be the path? I mean, were you just excited about something new and the potential, or did you really have um, an idea about how? I'm going to say revolutionary. I mean, I've spent my whole life on skates, so I remember the first time um, being on those blades. But I mean, did you guys have any idea?
We knew it was revolutionary in the fact that, Jeff spent a couple of years R&Ding this thing, and what was great was we weren't trying to build flexible skate blades. That wasn't the goal. The goal was to make skates faster. So when he came up with the solution for that, we were like, okay, this makes sense. And then, as we were developing the product, Bauer released a first quick release holder. It's like, oh,
Yep.
now you can change your blades instantly. Again, timing in business and stuff is very important. So
Yeah.
we knew, hey, this works. We know it works. We have all the test results. It works. We went to third party, did those test results. Those were the same type of results. So we're like, okay, we know it works. Now we can convince everybody it works and convince everyone to do it. Well, if you can change your steel quickly and on your own, you're more likely to try it at least. So the timing and stuff was like, okay, I think we can build a business in this way. Um, but to get to where we are now and the numbers we're doing now, I would have never guessed. I actually wouldn't have. We were happy for this to be. We both worked on it because it was fun.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it was fun. And, it was a pain in the butt. I had to call 300 something stores one by one. Like that takes time and effort, and you have to kind of sacrifice weekends and things like that. But it was, we're talking to hockey people, and it was fun, and it was fun to get those stories where people tried it and they're like, oh my god, my kids love this. They won't use any steel but yours. Stories from you again, as more experienced people that were like, I've used all sorts of skates and all sorts of stuff, and this is actually different, and I can tell. So those were always really rewarding to hear that feedback, and that's how we knew. Like, we can think whatever we want, the two of us,
Right.
but that's how we knew when we kept getting the same type of feedback from people. They're like, no, this is different, and no, this really works. That was what was important, and so yeah, we continue to do the same. Like our business model and messaging is never really changed over the 12 years. We still want to be like the most value add company per dollar spent in your hockey bag. So that's what we're focused on.
For you, where did that? discipline kind of come from? And the entrepreneurial side, I know you mentioned earlier, maybe you got a lot of confidence, when you were kind of going after your MBA. But for you, where did that tenacity come from? The ability to kind of stick with something. You're not going to get a payoff tomorrow, but eventually,
Mm,
when you add up all the todays, right? Like that's how you grow. For you, where did that come from?
good question. I've always had to work hard. I was pretty good in school. Like I picked up concepts and things quickly. My sister was always mad at me because like math and things like that seemed easy for me. I just got it. And obviously good teachers and stuff are helpful. So my dad always had small businesses, so that's where I learned the business aspects. Like I have two business degrees, but realistically, the things that are the most valuable and things that I know in business are from him. And seeing he built a wire manufacturing for 25 years, and then he had a clothing wholesale company for the next 15 years. Very different businesses, but what I learned is like some of the things you have to solve, like cash flow, for example, is everything. It's like you need to solve for that no matter what you're doing, and margin and saying no to people, don't sell to anybody at any cost, and these types of things where they don't really teach you that in business schools. You learn that from running business. So I had like a lifetime of lesson before I even met Jeff and did this. So when I saw the product and I saw what it was, I was like, I just knew what to do.
Yep.
So that was it. And then, the hard work was always instilled. Immigrant parents, it was come here with nothing and you have to work, nothing's given to you. Um, and then things like when I played soccer and hockey, I always tried to play on the best teams I could, which meant I was like the worst player on those teams or close to the bottom. So if
So
I wanted
good.
minutes
So
in soccer
important.
or ice time, I had to work harder than everybody, period. Like there was no way around it. So that's kind of always instilled. I haven't had, I think I'm somewhat talented, but I've never been able to rely on my talent alone. Where I had, friends and teammates that were very, very skilled and they got lazy as they got older because
Yep.
they became complacent. So that's never been an option for me.
What do you think the entrepreneurial ship has taught you most about yourself? Like, is there something that you've really kind of owned that maybe you didn't know that you had it in you?
Huh, that's a good question. Um, Something that I've learned about myself that I didn't know I
That
had.
maybe, yeah, that maybe you didn't know.
Yeah, well, it was hard. Honestly, I've had some close friends that have helped. So, part of kind of what you said is like, how do you keep going and the tenacity and stuff like that? And I'm not perfect. There was a point a few years into Blade Tech that I didn't want to do it anymore. I was working a kind of a bit of a stressful corporate job, and I was spending my evenings and weekends doing this other thing, which was extra work. 4 or 5 hours a day of extra work, no money. Any money we were making was going back into the company. My partner and I would butt heads sometimes about, because we weren't making money. So we were like always battling about which way to go and what direction to go and all that stuff. So I was out with my buddy, having another buddy having a beer, and I was like, I'm done. I said, I'm done. I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. If this guy wants to run it, go ahead. Like, I don't want to do it. And he said, you guys have something that is different and incredible, like you mentioned. And he just said, just keep going. That's
Love
it.
that. I love it.
And that's what I've learned. And that was probably about 7, 8 years ago. And he basically and what I've learned from that and from a lot of other people that have run businesses is most entrepreneurs, most businesses don't fail. People just stop.
So true.
And so that's an like entrepreneur 101 is like not that not that you should sink all your money and keep going on something that's not working, right? But you don't know where that breakthrough is going to be. And our breakthrough happened during the pandemic, which was not intuitive, right? You
Yep.
never would have thought that. But because we built it online, when stores shut down, people were still playing hockey and they were finding ways to play hockey. So they started finding us online.
Though that's a so in on this podcast, we talk to people such as yourselves, right? People who are achieving and just, athletes or coaches. But what you just said though is such a common theme, that it's not just that there is the tenacity, which clearly you have. It's not just that there is that grit, which clearly you have, but it's also being open, I think, to listening to others. It's one thing just to make, like you said, you guys weren't making like bad decisions, right? But they were educated decisions. But um, you have to put yourself, I think, in a situation where you can be open to that. And if there's one thing I've really learned amongst all these people I've spoken with, is what you just said, that they're listeners. I mean, you're not just head down, this is the way it is, right? Because how you're going to miss something. But I mean, do you have
Mm.
thoughts on that?
So yeah, listeners for sure. I'm always very conscious of the source
Yeah.
of the information, because you can also listen too much, and then you're running things and doing things that are other people's ideas and not your own. So I think it's really important to listen, or to educate yourself. Your biggest asset obviously is your brain. So educating yourself. So hey, I want to become a hockey player. I'm gonna find the best coaches I can and listen to them, the best, skating instructors, the best skill coaches, that I can find, and I'm gonna take pieces from them and learn how to be an amazing hockey player, the best hockey player I can be. So, but listening to your family or things said, oh, why are you wasting your time and things like that? You could be working, you could be whatever the case may be. So I think you still have to drive the idea. You still have to have as clear as you can in your head. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to spend my time. Whether I'm successful or not, whether I make a career out of this or not, uh, doesn't matter. Like if I wasn't, I'm doing Blade Tech full time. If I wasn't doing Blade Tech full time, I'd probably be still doing it in some capacity because it's fun, and because it was interesting and unique, and got to do a lot of fun things. Got to travel, meet some great people, that kind of
Yep.
stuff. So it's still be doing it. So that's the key, is like if you can find something to do where you would do it. The big joke is like I would do this for free. I don't, but I would, but I would do it on some level
Yeah.
for free. I mean, it's I say that tongue in cheek, but coaching is the same way for me. If I
Sure.
would definitely do like I would coach a soccer team, like a pro team for free. I would absolutely love it, and I would
Yep.
be all into it, watch all the video, all that stuff, and do all the coaching things and build the
Because because
relationships. And
because why? What's the rewarding part for you of the coaching? Why'd you say that?
relationships are a big thing. So building those, and you bond. The cool thing about sports, especially high level pro level sports, is you bond. Maybe not pro level, but maybe like high end athlete. Like I love school. Those 18, 22-year-old college athletes, because well, before recently weren't getting paid.
Yeah.
Now they are. It changes the
Now they are.
dynamic quite a bit. But it was really like you had to build relationships really quickly. You bonded really quickly. You went through hardships really quickly, and then you're really at that age. You're kind of molding an adult, right? They're still formidable years, and people are on their own for the first time, away from home for the first time. It's a really cool group of people. And they're older, so you can joke around a little bit. You can give them a little bit of
Yep.
shit, like that kind of stuff
Yep.
is fun, because they're adults. So it's a great mix. But that stuff is seeing. I coached guys for 4 or 5 years, and seeing them transition from 18 to 22 years old into young men was
It's
really
amazing,
cool.
right? It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And so
I
I'd
Go
feel the
on, go
same
on.
way, if you take kids from 12, 13 through their teenage years, really, you can really have an impact. And I know that in my life, I think everyone goes through this. If you went to school and you played sports, there's probably, I would say, if you're lucky, you have 3 to 4 teachers or coaches that you remember
Yep. Yep.
that that really impacted, and you remember specific phrases and sentences I said that you
That's
just
right.
stuck with you, and that was cool. So what's rewarding for me is, if I having an impact on multiple people, and their families and their lives. Because I also saw, again, I saw my dad do that. He coached soccer for a long time. He ran businesses for a long time, and just, you have amazing impact on people's lives from even from very small or short interactions.
Even when we were doing a ton of on ice stuff. I mean, we don't do a ton of on ice stuff anymore, but I mean, we were doing 500-600 private lessons a week in that. Yeah, it was a massive facility, and I always knew the vision was always to make better hockey players. What I didn't know, um, which I think it anchors my work now, is that just like you said, like we really were kind of in the help build better human being business, right? Like whatever happens with hockey, whatever, it's the grind is of course important, but having that sort of impact on impressionable younger people um, has really become rewarding as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time, but um, in your business now, do you remember kind of like the first time when maybe you saw like a pro using your product? Were you just like, holy cow, this is real?
Yeah, it's so funny. We started, when we finally decided on what the product should be, and Jeff, kind of finalized the design, we went to market. The first customers were NHL teams. Like we went directly there because we're like, hey, uh, these guys have budget, number one. Number two is if we get NHL players to use it, I can get anybody else to use it because they're the pickiest, highest end players in the world. So if they're going to use Blade Tech, it's good enough for your 10-year-old, basically.
Yep.
So some marketing material and things like that, and because that was the number one question when we called stores was like, well, who's wearing it? And we're like, well, no one yet. So
Yep.
that
Got to
was cool.
start
So
somewhere.
when we got a couple of New York Islanders on it, we were, watching games on TV, like in front of the TV like this, trying to see
It's
if our
crazy,
logo
right?
was on the blade. And then we go to the NHL website the next day and all the photos of Getty images and trying to see which ones were there and trying to crop them and like there's our blade. So that was fun. And then when teams would travel to Toronto and I started going to practices, I'll never forget this. I was at the Florida Panthers practice many years ago, and players walked by, and there were some great players there, but Yarmer Yager walked by, and
Yep.
I was talking to the equipment manager, and I stopped mid sentence, and I went, like he was so cool. It was the middle of December. He wore a long black coat. He had his gray black
Yeah.
hair in a bun. He just looked so cool. He looked like an assassin.
Yep.
He was, and he's tall and is Yager. He's a legend. So that was the
Legend.
first time I was starstruck a little bit. I was like, yeah,
Yep.
I grew that. I was other than the Leafs, I loved the Penguins in the '90s, and he was obviously a huge part of those two
Yeah, he
cups back
was.
then. So
You mentioned this a couple times, and I think it may be worth unpacking a little bit because I'm sure that people had asked you along the way or compared your product or tried to say that is not going to work because it's too expensive or whatever it is. But you've mentioned the word value a bunch and also learning how to say no to people, right? It sounds like you guys were pretty dialed in on you probably weren't so much in the price game, right? You're in the feature, benefit, value game. But was it hard to kind of stick to your guns on that? Like, was the temptation to go lower market, or were you guys always dialed in for this is a premium product? We're gonna set the ceiling for the market. We're gonna set the tone.
yeah, the we were pretty dialed in. There's the temptation's always there. The temptation is always there to lower the prices. But I did a lot of work. I had a lot of experience building premium brands. And the brand that my dad had was also represented in different countries. Like it was also, they had the license for Canada, the license for the US for this brand, and they absolutely decimated the value of it. So they couldn't even sell a t-shirt for $20. It was in like value bins at these big stores like Winners and these things. So um, so we knew exactly how to build the brand and sell it at a premium and make some scarcity and all the features you need for a premium brand. Um, And it just made sense. So like breaking it down to the core, and this was real 2 years of research and development, spent tons of money on and got some grant money from the government and stuff to do all this research, built something that made players 5% faster. It's like, do you know how much time and money players spend to get 1% increase in their skating? Whether it's edge work or a little more power, like at the gym and squats and those things. In the summer, they're lucky if they add 1%. So I'm giving that to you instantly. So basically, I've created gold. Why should I sell that for less than the most expensive? Why should it not be the most expensive blade on the market? We could probably sell it for more, to be honest. Um, so that messaging would made sense. Was like either it's the best and it's going to give you a speed boost, and you should pay the most for it, or it's not. And so pricing is part of the story, and that's what a lot of
Yep.
people when they're starting a business, they're like, oh, this is the best thing ever, but I'm going to give it to you for cheaper than what's out there. It's like, well, is it the best thing ever or is it cheap?
Yep.
You're confusing people actually.
Yep.
So, but we said no to a lot of people because stores were like, oh, we'll help you sell it. We're going to let us bring it in for free. And we're like, no, it's going to be the most expensive blade you have, but you need to buy it because if you don't invest into it, there's no incentive for you to sell it, and you're going to want to sell it for cheaper than what we're marketing it at and what the price should be. So we said no to stores, and we still say no to stores that want deals and all these things. So
Yep.
this is crazy, and I don't know another product like this. By the way, we warranty the product for an entire year, so I don't know any hockey products that are warranted for a year. Anything out of high-end electronics that are warranted for a year. Um, so we warranty for a year. There's no question about that. And for example, we're in big box store Pure Hockey. We're in 40 of their 60 locations. And we also sell to people that started sharpening businesses in their garage, in their back sheds, in their house,
Yep.
that were sharpening for the community. And they were like, everybody wants new steel. Can I sell it to them? And we're like, yeah. They all buy the steel for the same price.
Yep. One other thing, I don't even know if I've ever shared this with you, but I mean, this was, I don't know, a couple years in after kind of using your stuff. I mean, I think we had 8 or 9 coaches. Everybody was wearing it, right? So all the kids or the younger players, hey, what's that, right? I mean, at one point I remember looking around and it was like there was 60 hockey players in here, and like 3/4 of them are using this steel. But I remember hearing a story from a mom of one of our clients who had bought your stuff. We weren't selling it, but something was wrong. The blade couldn't fit in the holder. Who knows if it was the holder's
Yeah.
issue, whatever. And she came in and she told me about it. And I said, well, how did you guys resolve it? Like, what happened? And she said, I sent an email. I don't know if it was you or Jeff, but she's like, one of the owners called me back or emailed me back within like 5 minutes and just simply said, we're sorry, we're going to make it right. Where should we send the new ones to? And it was like, it's like if someone was crafting a commercial, like that was the commercial. Like it wasn't just the best product, but it was like a 30-second conversation I had with her. And that is just, I know that's not easy to build, but you guys seem like you have it.
It's not easy to scale.
That's true. That's
You
true.
can do it. Anybody can do it. Like
Yep.
it takes no time, and the rare lost art form of the phone call these days, right?
Yep.
Like that's so. We made a couple of choices. So not only, again, falling back on, hey, this is the best performing blade that is out there, and we know that because you know if it existed, we would be using it. Basically, is how we knew that. So and then we made a couple of decisions. So one was the material that we used. So this is related to your story in a second, but basically we have the best technology. Why would we not make the best blade, the best material we can use? And we actually used to buy a higher grade of steel that it was really hard to sharpen. We actually had to downgrade. It was like too good. It was too much. So we actually had to downgrade. So we are using, and we're the only ones I think using the best material you could, like the best quality of stainless steel, because you can buy different, you go to steakhouse and you buy a McDonald's hamburger. This technically those are both beef, right?
That's right.
So the grade is important. So we're using the highest grade. And then from there is okay, we know people are gonna get it, we know it's gonna work. Nothing's perfect. These plastic holders and stuff are way off. Sometimes in manufacturing, if it's a tiny bit thinner, you get some movement. It's not perfect, right? It's not a perfect science. So things happen. So we wanted also to have the best quality of experience. So not only did you get your, is the ordering process, relatively easy. I actually just built a new ordering process for online today that I'm going to be launching next week. So make that as easy as possible, guide people as easy as possible. It gets to them when we ship it, it gets them in 2 days, no matter where they are in the country. If there's an issue, there's a email phone number they can use online, which again, try getting anyone else on the phone. And then when people have issues, we either email them, or if it's a little more complex, we'll call them. So either myself, my partner, we have a full-time customer service person now who will do that. And when you call people, it actually, the conversation doesn't even matter at that point. It's the fact that you called them, they're blown away.
Absolutely. Yep.
And they're like, hey. And then obviously we stand by everything, even sticks now. So we don't technically, we got into sticks, and technically we don't have a warranty on sticks, but we'll replace sticks based on, if they get damaged in transit, which happens more often than I'd like. Or if, hey, I used this for 3 or 4 times and the blade started falling apart, we're like, okay, we'll replace it. Sometimes you get the odd one that foam didn't inject properly in the blade, and there's no way to know until you use it. So
Yep. How do you, not the specifics necessarily of your products or Blade Tech, but how do you scale something like that, right? Because obviously it has to be built on some sort of training, some sort of communication, certainly not just having standards, but enforcing those standards. So how have you seen, or how have you guys been able to scale, like with all this explosive growth, without losing like the very foundational elements of the brand when you guys first started it?
for us, it's about priorities. So, we didn't grow quicker than kind of our personnel allowed, which was important. It was a very slow organic growth. And then again, we kind of hit some things and exploded a little bit, but nothing more than we could handle, which was important. So we grew our business. We hired when we needed to. But Jeff and I did a lot of stuff ourselves. So, and customer service was a priority for sure. So we just prioritized, I think, the things we needed to scale. So I always built, for me, for businesses, is like I always build it as lean as possible. I think everyone could do more. No one should have any idle time in a business. No one should be worked where they can't even think straight, where they've got a million things to do and that list never is less than a million. That's too much. But at the same time, I think everyone can always do more. So hiring people and hiring great help and guys that are really invested and passionate about it is crucial. And our team absolutely is. They fit that bill. Um, and then we prioritize quality. So you get, the better you build your products and the better you build your services, the less problems you have to deal with. So you don't have to, it's not like I want to scale up my customer service. No, I want to scale down my problems.
So
Because
true.
then,
So true.
because then I don't
Yeah.
need 5 people making phone calls every day. I only need one,
Yep.
right? Or two. So that is also really important. And then realistically, like fixing problems quickly or catching and building quality control. So we're catching, guys don't pick the orders 100% correct all the time. So
It happens. It
catching stuff
happens.
before they leave the door saves us all this, again, bad experience, bad issues going out there. So we prioritize all that. And it's funny. It just seems like other hockey companies don't. The amount of issues, the amount of problems, the amount of delays in shipping, you name it, everywhere across the customer path, whether it's an individual customer or a store. Like we talk to all the stores. We sell to over 350 stores. So they tell us, oh, my so-and-so shipment's been delayed 8 months. I'm like, that's the whole season.
The whole season.
You're gonna get stuff in March. It's like the season's done. What's the point?
Yep.
So we've really focused on, to us, that's where the priorities and the high value add, where, the odd thing that goes wrong, we have product in that we can fix it. Again, in 2 days, we'll fix it. It's done. And hopefully we only have to fix things once.
what you said though is it's really, really intuitive that yeah, you're going to try to make the best things possible, systems, products, obviously, so you don't have as many issues, but if an issue does happen, like that sort of energy, time, and attention, like move it to resolution, right? And I think that's probably where a lot of businesses, teams, individuals, where they fall down, is that they don't switch out of the right now mode and put it into resolve mode.
It's also decisions. I mean, we're product based. So I look at all the products, all the new stuff that happens, the new skates, the new sticks, all the stuff. And what I've seen consistently, especially over the last 5, 6, 7 years, is companies going to cheaper material. So that is a choice. There's no reason to do it other than, hey, there's two ways companies make money. It's they increase revenue or they decrease costs, basically. So if we've actually spent more on stuff than anybody else. And I very, very rarely change something to save some money. I will if it makes sense, but obviously, like, we spent more on packaging, we spent more on all these things than anybody else, because it was like, this needs to perform at all levels. The experience has to be good. So I look at things as an investment into the experience. And I'll give you a perfect example. Top skate companies decided a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now, that they were going to sell their top end skate without steel. Now, to a customer experience, that is terrible, because they already walk into a store, they're overwhelmed. There's 30, 40 skates on the wall. You got an 18-year-old kid who's like, you're like, where do I start? And they're like, well, this one, we sell a lot of this one. That's not really helpful for you. So if you can navigate all that and you've made a decision, and then you're like, oh, by the way, this is completely useless because it doesn't have any steel in it. Now you got to go buy steel. The psychological impact or effort you're putting on your customers is massive. And so even when they decide, let alone that they're spending $1,200, $1,300 now on these things, um, there's no satisfaction in it. Like, they're just overwhelmed. And
Yep.
then if something goes wrong on top of that, they're done. Like, you've lost them,
Yep.
right? It's really interesting. So the good news with all that from our standpoint is now people are like, well, what's the best steel I can buy? Since it doesn't come with
Yep.
steel, I got to put steel in there. So
Throughout this process, when you guys are making all these decisions, and maybe for you personally, did you ever have like fears, hesitation, like the what if this doesn't work out, right? So there's normally like two trains of thought, right? Are we paralyzed with the fear, or are we going to spend that time thinking, well, what if it does work out? Do you have examples of that for you?
yeah, I don't have like specific examples. Again, for me, a lifetime of education, 2 business degrees, like, I have a pretty good idea of what's going to work and what's not going to work. And it doesn't mean, we've tried stuff and it hasn't worked, or it hasn't worked as well as I thought. And other stuff that I didn't really think about that went extremely well. So, it's not like we're perfect, but our starting point and our education level and our experience helps guide our decisions. So when we make a decision, it's usually backed by a lot of that stuff. So very different from just guessing. Um, so I forgot your main question, but was that basically, is there any
Yeah,
fear?
the
So,
question was, I
so
mean, when you're innovating and when you're leading,
mm,
um, sometimes there is that fear of, yes, you're going to make the best decision you can. You're not going to jump, without any information. But
yeah.
sometimes people don't take the risk. They don't jump, because, well, what if this doesn't work? What if this is too expensive? What if this doesn't work?
So
That's what I was asking.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So fear is usually from unknown. And unknown could be uneducated or inexperienced. So again, we've backed that up for a lot of education and experience that we've had. So I guess we might have, in some cases, a lot less fear than people in or other entrepreneurs. But there should really be, where fear is useful is in inaction. So you should be afraid of not
Hmm.
acting. That's actually one of the worst things you can do as an entrepreneur and as a business. Like, acting and failing, or it's not really failing, it's learning. There's only success and learning. We say those two things. So if you don't act, you can't be successful or you can't learn. You can't, you're basically doing nothing. And somebody else is probably.
Yep. Yep.
So you gotta, fear is a great tool to use. You should be afraid of not acting as opposed to afraid of acting and it not working out, because
I
that
love
is a
that.
learning. And the more you do that, the better your business is going to be. And I actually just saw this thing today. It was great. They talked about all these players. The famous story of Michael Jordan not making his high school basketball
Yep.
team.
Yep.
All these really, really successful business people had these dozens of failed businesses or business
Sure.
ideas or partnerships in the past. It said successful people fail more than unsuccessful people try.
Yep. Yeah.
So they don't even, they fail once or twice and then they stop trying.
That's
Again,
right.
goes back to what I said earlier: is most businesses don't fail, people just stop. It's so the inaction is way worse than the failure or the learning that you have to do.
What two more, and I appreciate your time. From a culture standpoint, how would you describe the culture at the business? Is that something you guys focus on or talk about internally, like when you're growing your business, from the inside out? How much does culture play a role in that?
That's a good question, because culture is something it's there. You can build it intentionally or it can just happen. So for us, the culture is really important. Honestly, I think, and this is going to be critical of us, I think that's one thing we could do a better job of, in general, being more intentional with it. I'm not saying our culture is bad or there's issues. I think there's issues, but these are things that we could spend more time and stuff. We're almost get too caught up in the day to day and the operation stuff and getting stuff done, as opposed to um, kind of focused on that and getting more people's buy-in and stuff like that. It's a little more, hey, you know, get these things done and do
Yeah.
them because we asked you, you should do it. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a little bit of that, but which is fine. It's not a problem. It's just different dynamics.
Sure.
But what I've tried to do specifically is try to give people ownership over their part of the business. And what we've really instilled, again, being in hockey, it's like it's really easy to go, this is a team analogy. Is like, we are a business. This is, you guys are the business. It was me and Jeff, we were the business, and now, we're all the business. So it's really giving them ownership and be like, hey, if your job is profiling and sharpening steel, like, pretend you're doing this for yourself or your best friend or your kid, or it's got to be that good, whether it's for an NHL player or for a 7-year-old. Like, that's, make sure these edges are square and make sure they're the best they can be. Um, so really giving ownership for that, and then sharing, because we're an online business, we don't get to see a lot of, they don't get to see a lot of things or a lot of feedback or what's that. So when there's problems, we share it with them. When there's great reviews and stuff like that, we try to share. That one's harder to share because it's great. And you're like, but you really need to tell people, like, hey, you guys did this and this happened. And this person was, this mom was over the moon because her kids got blades before their birthday, and she looked like a hero. Um, so that's also really important. And then we try to do that, like, with live events and stuff, and bring guys along, and so we can get connected to the community, because a little bit disconnected by being mostly online.
Yeah. The last thing for you, because you've been on both sides of this, but the concept of always being coachable or always coachable. If you just had to say maybe something on that you could apply, you could do it to sports, business. But what does that mean to you, or what do you think that could mean?
Yeah, good question. I love that phrase, basically. I think for me it means, like, you're not, no one's perfect and no one knows everything. And you'll be surprised at where you learn lessons and how you learn lessons from people. So I think being open, to me, that means being open. And it's learning from, I learn from my employees, I learn from my customers, I learn from family who look things. When I'm tackling a problem, there's some friends I call. I'm like, hey, I'm dealing with this right now, and they're like, well, have you thought of this? And I'm like, no, I haven't. Let me try that. So, because
Yeah.
they're good with me because they know I do, right? So if I'm asking people for advice or I'm taking problems to people and they make suggestions, I won't just, like, okay, thanks. I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going to try that, or I'm going to try this version of that. So people kind of get more invested into your, like I had a roommate that I lived with for a while I was building this, and while we kind of blew up because I was running most of it from home. And he's so invested in the business now because he's like, he was almost like my personal coach
Yep.
from a marketing standpoint. And he was like, try this. He goes here, and he even helped me like do some photos of different blades and stuff. So, so that's, and people love that. And, you know, he's not invested, he doesn't make any money from this. He's not invested into it, but he's invested like psychologically because, I mean, we're close friends, but he just, he's some himself seen the business grow. And there's something really rewarding and cool about that. So like we were talking about coaching people, you know, young people and making better humans before, that you know, people get that reward when they're invested in you and your business. So I think there's always opportunities for you to seek help. That's the other thing too, and that's the other thing I've tried to do more. You know, when I was younger, I was a little know-it-all, right? I was like, I know what to do. I don't need your help. I don't need to ask you
Yeah.
questions. So
Yep.
um, getting more help from people, because now you know, we want to scale the business even more, and that's foreign to me. And that's, you know, going from, you know, zero to this point, I know how to do. Going from here to, you know, 10x it is
Yep.
like, there's people that know how to do it. I'm not one of them. So I've spent a lot of like the last year really focused on, you know, lots of people on social media who are now sharing, you know, multiple businesses, you know, worth $500 million, and they kind of, they have some sort of formula that works. So I'm always learning about that.
Well, I got to tell you honestly, it's just from the outside, it's been so awesome to watch, and you've always been very very kind to me, and very responsive, and good things happen to good authentic people, and you guys are certainly in that category. So congrats on everything. If you want people to learn more about you or the product, where would you like us to send them? I know you guys are
Yeah,
all over social media, but
we
where?
definitely are. If you click our website, we're gonna blast you with social media.
Yeah, but it's good
Blade
stuff though. It's good stuff.
BladeTechHockey.com, at Blade Tech Hockey on all the social platforms, TikTok, Instagram, X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it now, Facebook. We're there. We're all over. And we're really invested in telling. We're going to get into more of telling the story, these types of stories about Blade Tech and people using it, and what it means to them, because the products we have are amazing. There's no question. So if you haven't tried it, definitely try it. Our blades, even our sticks at the price point is ridiculous. It's actually too cheap in my opinion, what we're selling it versus what the actual product is and how good it is. But we are focused on giving you the most value per dollar spent in hockey. It's gotten really expensive, so we want you to be super happy with spending your money with us. That's kind of our goal.
Well, I thank you. Thank you for spending time here. I know you're a very, very busy guy. And for those folks who are listening, thank you for spending time. And if this conversation gave you something, we ask that you share it with someone who's still growing. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube at Sandy Cohen Official. And remember that the best never think they've arrived. So stay coachable. I'm Sandy Cohen, and we will see you next time.